Oh, hey. Shabbat Shalom, or whenever you're listening to this. It's Eve. Just giving you guys a little pre-show edit here. We're going to get to the podcast in a second. Catherine couldn't be here for this part because she's off snorting ketamine, I assume. But I just finished editing this episode, and the audio was a little bit wonky in some parts. My microphone is insanely loud, and theirs are not nearly as loud, but it's a really good episode. So please listen. I'm sorry it doesn't sound amazing. We're working on getting better equipment, and also, honestly, I think it might have been my fault. I think I messed up with my mic, but don't tell Catherine. And you know she doesn't listen to the episodes anyway, so she's never going to find this part out. But please enjoy this episode and keep listening, like, subscribe. Oh, and at the end of the episode, we talk about TikTok and how you can follow us, and we give the show name on TikTok. But actually, we decided it's better if TikTok is under my name. So if you do look us up on TikTok, it's just me, Eve Elbow. That's not my real last name, but whatever. Eve Elbow, same as my Instagram name. And Catherine's on there too as Ew Girl You Nasty. All right, guys, enjoy.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Everyone's Doing Better Than Me. It's the podcast where we tell more successful people how their achievements are ruining our days, every one of our days.
All of
the days, all
Yep.
of them. I am one of your hosts, Catherine Henson, along with my co-host.
Eve Ellenbogen, Gemini.
She's present here. And our guest today, the person who has hurt me the most this week, is Danielle Meitiv. Yes? Is that how you say it, Eve?
Yes.
It is.
I practice.
I coached her.
So it's like, she was like, no, it's Meitiv. I had to do it phonetically, like a child learning how to spell and say English words. So I'm very proud of myself, but I still had to ask. I need the approval.
Yeah.
But very excited. Danielle.
Look at you. You did it. You did it.
Thank you.
She was like May. I was like May, like the month. May. And then she was like to Eve, like my name. T. That's right. Meitiv.
And I was just like, I quit the podcast. I quit. Yeah. I'm done. I'm done. And but I'm very excited to have her. She is a scientist and oceanographer turned health coach. So more on that coming soon. But very much before that, I have to ask you, Eve.
Yes.
This week, who hurt you?
It's funny that you're asking me to narrow it down, but I will. I'll try here.
We don't have all day. So well, the list is long, I know, but pick one.
This week, it was actually, all right. It was me. And the thing that,
boom.
Yeah, boom. All right. And the thing is, I have to say right now that our guest this week, and this is relevant to the Who Hurt Me. Our guest this week is, no, you didn't hurt me, but she's my cousin, right? And we're cousins. We've known each other our whole lives. Well, my whole life. And yeah.
I just got here.
And so right now, Danny is health coaching me. And so I'm reluctant to share this, but I'm going to share it anyway, that yesterday, what I did was... Yesterday, I microdosed on some mushrooms. Okay. And I love that I'm projecting.
I approve.
Yeah. The thing is, they actually don't even go against the regimen that we have, which is like a gluten-free, dairy-free type thing. But I'm like, but I'm sure that psychedelics don't have the same, because I asked her what the effect would be if I did the rest of your cocaine that I found. And she was like, we're trying to work on your hormones. That may not be the best thing right now. Like, you should just wait till after the program, right? No judgment.
I agree. As the resident drug abuser, I would say cocaine is not on the menu for health now currently.
But mushrooms are natural. They're
totally.
Exactly.
Yes. And also, but I will say that these mushrooms, I guess they were like boiled, and then they took the water and they infused that into some honey. But luckily, it's very fucking strong. It's so strong. It's like the tiniest bit. Woo! So yesterday, this is what hurt me, was not the mushrooms, is that I took some of this and then I went to Trader Joe's. Oh my God, it's like a Sunday or whatever. And then I was like, I raced back because I bought a ticket to go to the Prospect Park Zoo. Is a time ticket $10. I was like, I'm gonna be trippy and go to the zoo. By the way, the saddest fucking zoo in the world. I'll have you know, right? I guess if you have kids, you'll be like, oh, this is great. I'm like, this is the worst place I've ever been. Like
it's animal jail.
It's
really.
totally, yeah, totally. It's for the animals that people agree to punish together. They're like, we're not even going to try to give you a good life. You don't fucking deserve it. So I was like tripping and I'm in the Uber racing there, right? Because I was like, oh God, like I'm running late, of course. I had to go to Trader Joe's while high or whatever. And then
get out of my way. I'm running late to the zoo.
And then I'm like, well, it's time tickets. I'm like, oh, well, if they won't let me in because I'm like 15 minutes late, then I'll just buy a new ticket. And then I'm like, they're sold out. I saw it online. They're not going to let me in. They're not going to let me to buy it. So I'm like, my whole day is in jeopardy. So I'm in the Uber reflecting. And somehow, because this is my mind, somehow I'm like looking out and just starting to like relax and looking. My mind goes to rape, right? Just like, it's like every Tinder date I go on, every time I meet a new person, every person I talk to on the subway, eventually I get to rape. I'm like, well, rape is real. You know, like there's just something like so meaningless that I can't help it. And I just started to go down this like, you know, spiral, this like thought spiral. Where I was like, well, you know, you have to be able to like face the world. And then another, this like little voice in my head went, Eve, just relax. Do we have to talk about rape now? Just trip. And it's a beautiful day. It's a Sunday. It doesn't have to be about rape.
It is a weird topic to be on your mind right when you're about to go look at animals. Like,
oh, I saw some shit. I saw some shit yesterday that, you know, I slept and I think I've wiped myself clean, but you see everything on the baboons. You see their whole business and you're like, I wonder, oh, nope, that's not consent and it's not welcome. But, you know, what can I do? I mean, they haven't caught up to the times, these baboons.
Somebody should get them a computer and get them on the internet so they know what's going on.
Get that baboon a hashtag because she needs to know that she has a voice. I sent Catherine a picture, Danny, of one of the baboons playing with its little pee-pee, and then the other one just sitting next to it looking off into space, and I captioned it, me and you working on our podcast. Yeah. And like, I think that's pretty accurate. Right?
I think you're the one playing with the pee-pee. I'm the one staring up into space because I'm on ketamine. So
I was absolutely listen. That's not. We're on the same page. Of course.
Exactly.
I was watching these baboons like just flick their dicks like just nonstop. They're just sitting there like, oh, is it there? Yep, it's there. Is it there? Is it there? Yep, it's there. And I was like watching them just like ding, 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 ding on their own dicks, and I'm like, I so get that. I so get like just, oh, are you okay? Yep. Oh, still working. Yep. Still working. You know, just like a little, So anyway, I hurt me, but then I saved myself.
The baboons, you missed it. You got to go to the bonobos. I mean, they're always getting off. Like bonobos are just nymphomaniacs. All they do is have sex. They have gay sex. They have multi-partner sex. They're all the time. That's what bonobo chimps do all day long. They just fuck.
Okay. I did mention that I went to the fucking Prospect Park Zoo.
No, you need to go to the San Diego Zoo. That's like the porn zoo. That's what, and they put the bonobos in the back so like the kids don't get all freaked out because they're always having sex.
Is that true?
Yeah. Totally true. They're like hide the bonobos.
They have like adults only section at the zoo.
It's like the curtain and there's little peep shows and you can like watch the bonobos go at it.
Well, that sounds like my kind of zoo, you know.
Yeah, so you know, baboons. No, they're like baboons are like, you know, they're just all too. You know,
why
are something? I think baboons are
frigid.
Yeah,
they're frigid. Stop masturbating. Start fucking. That's what I need to shout at the baboon. I just want to see what happens when I actually start saying this, like what security does to me. But anyway, well, Catherine, since you asked me, I should ask you because we're friends. You know, who hurt you this week?
Well, you know, I know Danny is new here, but we have an ongoing saga in my current building, my flat in London. There is a man named Henry who lives 2 floors above me, and he hears a noise that no one else can hear. Right. And
he hears a constant humming or like a thing, something.
Yeah. It's a low rumbling sound. And, you know, of course you would expect that maybe he's just being driven crazy because he's in his apartment all the time. but he's not, because he's too busy knocking on all his neighbors' doors, bothering them, trying to look at their fucking boilers to find out where this sound is coming from. And what Henry did to me this week, what he started doing is when we don't answer the door, when he knocks, he goes downstairs and buzzes the flat.
That's crazy. That's a crazy person.
It's a crazy person. And I couldn't believe it. And this is like after 8 p.m., you know, like this is like 8:45 p.m. at night. And then he did it the next day, another day, the second day, he buzzed twice. And I was like, I know it's Henry, but maybe it's a package. Maybe I bought myself something, you know, maybe wishful thinking. This is a building, and there are so many noises that you hear that at this point, like, anytime I hear a noise, this has now intercepted my brain. It's like, is that his noise? Is that his noise? Like, I'm like, and like, I feel like I'm being driven crazy because I can't hear the noise that only this man can hear. And he basically, he buzzed my flat twice. And I buzzed him in, and then he came and knocked on the door, and I opened the door, and I was like, I'm on the phone. And he was like, do you want to talk after? And I said, no, I don't. This has to stop. I was like, this has got to stop. You're buzzing my apartment. You're knocking on the door. You're texting my husband. You know, you're slipping notes under my door about this sound. And enough is enough. Enough is enough. I will deal with the building manager only regarding this. And he, you know, tried to kind of, you know, hot button word gaslight me. He was like, well, you're the only one not wanting to cooperate. You're in the minority here. And I was like, I am at peace with that. I'm good. So I ended up having to, I contacted my letting agent, who told me to contact my landlord. And my landlord is this, you know, wealthy woman in Dubai. And she's definitely very
really concerned about the noise, I'm sure.
She gives, so she always talks to me in voice notes, and I like text her back. So she's sending me these voice notes, and she's like, he's crazy, call the police. You know, like, and she's like, is it the tenant or is it the owner?
Right.
Yeah.
I love her.
And I was like, it's the tenant. She's like, well, I'm going to message his landlord, Bobby. So it's like, I feel like I have my rich mommy in Dubai messaging Bobby. Like, hey, you know, your son Henry is bothering my children in flat 5. And so right now, where it stands is Henry has said that the building has an engineer coming in the morning. But according to my landlord, like, if they're going to do anything like that, they send out a notice, and no notice has been sent out. So we think Henry is lying. You know, like, he's like gotten his own engineer. So she was like, do not answer the door. And I was like, no problem. Fucking Henry, though, like, he's let us know he's logging the noise. And I'm like, I want to
record the noise, Henry. Record the noise, and then we'll hear it.
Exactly.
It's something else. It is something else.
Well, it's a mental illness. I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
I believe we call it schizophrenia when you're hearing voices. He's
exactly.
Voices. Yeah, exactly.
It's so Henry hurt me this week, but you know.
But I have to ask you though, is Henry single? Because I just, you know, I really love the UK. I've always wanted to live there.
He's got a good imagination, maybe.
Yeah, you know, like exactly. Yeah, he fixates on things until they're taken care of.
I think he's actually tuned into like a higher plane. He's just vibrating on a different plane, and you just don't sense.
That's what it is. Henry is tuning into your meditation noises because Catherine started meditating. Yeah. Maybe he can hear it. Maybe you're just like emanating.
He's hearing your, you know, brainwaves or something. Either that
is your. Yeah.
He came with the mothership or something.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you know, Eve, he does live alone, and obviously he's obsessive. So maybe it would be fun to have somebody be obsessive with
fucking hot. That's all I have to say. Well,
so yeah.
Just do me a favor though, and please don't. I was just editing the podcast from last week with Shayla, and before that. We had our little intro where Catherine described Danny living in in Brooklyn, and knocking on her neighbor's door and basically starting shit. But no, not starting shit, responding to some shit. And sorry. I don't want to blame the victim.
I didn't start shit.
I was thinking about it. Like I was listening to that today, and then I was thinking about what you told me about Henry, and I'm like, it's not that you're not the common denominator. I know what it's like to have shitty neighbors, but I'm just like, one of them could kill you. That's my fear for you. I'm just like, don't die at the hand of Henry. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, Henry. I feel he's skinny, he's tall, he's British. I feel like I can take him.
That's true. Yeah.
I come from Reno, in London by way of New York City. Try me, okay? Like,
Henry, come on, man, come on, Henry.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, last night I saw a big rat dragging half a burrito toward the subway.
That was
I thought of Catherine. I really did. I was like,
that was me. I was screaming your name, and you just didn't look up. I was like, you want some?
It was so big, and the burrito was so big that the rat was limping as it dragged it. It was like throwing its back out, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" And I said something. I was like, "Hey!" And I yelled at it. It was only a couple feet away from me, but I was standing right there. And then it was like, "Oh shit!"
Burrito?
Yeah, seriously.
Hey,
and I'm hungry now.
Yeah, seriously. Well, Danny, this brings us to you, right? You're the guest here, so maybe you haven't thought about it until now. But this week, has anyone hurt you? Who's hurt you?
Who's hurt me this week? Yeah, well, that's a tough one.
You're like, everyone.
Do I have to pick just one? I've been like, can I just be like morally offended by the universe? To like just
yeah.
I am.
Oh, that's
every time.
So
that's our vibe.
Yeah. So just, I think this week, it's just minor. I've just been like pissed off at the patriarchy like all fucking week.
I've never heard of that. What? Sorry. Yeah.
And it's just been like I don't know. It's like something every day I find something else. I'm like, it's fucking bad.
What happened today? What happened today?
No, well, today it was funny. I was ranting to my husband, like, he's sorry, you got to like betray the patriarchy and be on my side for this.
And he's like,
I work in this, we'll talk about this later, the health coaching space. And just like every fucking day, I talk to women who just go to their these male doctors who just shame them left and right for fucking everything. And I was just ranting, and I hear it every day. So I just decided to blame all of the patriarchy. I pretty much won this whole argument with somebody on Facebook that it all started with the advent of agriculture when women's status went down. So it's been just like this for 10,000 years. So I'm just mad at all of modern like history and the patriarchy this week, just all of it.
This is why I'm kind of glad to not be like, cause you're really smart. And I always say this, but like, so much about history that it gives you more ammunition to be upset. And so I think it's like, sometimes I'm like, oh, really? Agriculture is when women lost their status, but I'll forget that. So I don't have to hold on to that anger. But I'm enraged for you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a book, of course I read a book and then I got angry at it. And then I heard a woman on a call and I'm like, see, it's everywhere. Yeah.
It is. It literally is everywhere. I mean, Henry is clearly the patriarchy, but I mean,
of course it wouldn't really, it's not Henrietta, is it? No, it's Henry.
No. He did say, I mean, just not for nothing, like when I was like, where I come from, what you're doing is harassment. And he said to me, welcome to Britain. As though like, I was like, what? Like, as far as I understand, like people in Britain want to avoid each other.
It's the opposite, right? No, you don't do that.
Yeah.
So he was like, this is a communal building. And I'm like, yo, I came from Harlem before this. You don't know anything about communal until you like smoke weed with your neighbors inside the building on the stairwell. That's communal.
Like, God, yeah. You're so neighborly. You're so friendly.
Truly, no.
Yeah. Well, Danny, this week we brought you here really to confront you. This is an intervention because you have been doing better than us in like kind of every single way, I think. Right, Catherine? Is that you think
it's painful?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't even the boxes that get checked here are things that I never even thought of possibilities in my life. Like I didn't even like consider like, oh, I could do that. Like, so now that I even am aware that you have done any of this, I'm very upset.
Same. Yeah. Now think about me, because I've known her my whole life and I've had to see her succeed at everything and be like smart. All right. So I'm just going to start from the beginning here. I really did go back to the early days, Danny. First of all, you went to Bronx Science. Which is a public school. It's not even, you can't even just get in there. You can't get in by paying money. You have to be smart, like super smart to go there. And then you go for free. It's like, okay, this is free, but you can only go if you're like kind of a genius. And then she fucking went to Bronx Science. Okay. And then after that, I mean, Monster decides to become an actual scientist by studying. Now, what did you studied at? You studied initially. I know that you got your master's in oceanography, but then what did you study in your undergrad?
Biology and French.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Did you just say French? You decided to just sprinkle in a little like, ooh la la. Oh, give me a fucking break. No, you don't get it. Now I do science in French. Okay.
Science and French. Sorry, not in.
Science, biology and French.
Oh, but you're saying you're going to one-up her. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's right. We're Catherine and I are going to become French scientists and we're going to show you. But then she works for the government, always does really well, always has like a very vital job. First works in DC, then moves to Boston. We still don't understand that chapter of her life, but we accept it. Like, what is a Jew doing in Boston? Unless she's there to be burned at the stake. Like, I don't understand. Like, what was happening?
Though. That's brave.
Very brave. Yeah, very brave. Yeah. Then moves back to DC, still a climate scientist, and decides, you know what? These people are too fucking nerdy for me. I'm leaving this career, and I think I'm going to just become, I don't know, like an erotic romance novelist.
Oh, Danielle Steele over here? Give me a break.
Yeah. And you know what was upsetting to me? You know what's the most upsetting to me about this is that she was good. That's what's upsetting, right? Because I dabble, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote this blog post once. I got a lot of comments. I read her goddamn novella.
I warned you.
What about your book?
Yes.
I
told her not to read it in public.
Believe me. I did not believe you, because who can turn me on with words? You know what I mean? Like,
except for me in my suicide poetry that I was writing.
That's true. When I read that, I came so hard. But no, so I go to this coffee shop in Maryland, right, where she lives. And she gives me a Kindle with the book, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll be supportive." You know,
she gave you a Kindle and had her book downloaded on there for you.
Yeah, it may have been my Kindle. I forget whose Kindle it was.
Whatever, it's hilarious.
Yeah, the book was on there, right? And I'm just like, you know, you think like, oh, my cousin wrote a book, right? Like, and like a romance.
Like, isn't that sweet? She was very supportive. It was very kind of her.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll go read it. It's 100 pages. I'll read like half of it now. I sat there. Like, do not touch your pussy in public. I sat there like one of those fucking baboons the other day. I sat there just like reading this thing.
I mean, the bonobos. She wanted to get it on with everybody.
But I was like, what the fuck? Because I don't read porn. I don't read like erotic romance. You know, if I need it, I'll watch porn, or I'll just sleep with some guy on the street and then write a joke about it, a sad joke about it. But this was like, it was so good that I was so turned on that when I got up to leave, and it was just men in the cafe, and I felt unsafe because I felt like people can smell it on me. I felt like a cat, like a dog in heat. Yeah, I felt like it was like in heat. And you know how like cats, you hear them in the alley like, wah, wah, and that's the female cats telling the male cats, don't try to fuck me. You know, it all comes back to rape. And so
I actually think they're saying the opposite here, by the way.
I know. I heard that female cats, that male cats have needles that come out of their penises that hurt the female cats if they try to pull away. Catherine's getting turned on. She's like, oh, that's a fun game.
Well, no, I'm like, that sounds like my old day job at the BDSM dungeon.
Yeah. That's true. So, okay. Does that then gets...
There's a reason why we call them one-handed reads.
Yeah, well, now I get it. But you should have told me that before I was in the cafe. I'll never forgive you.
I hate to say it, so your cousin made you come.
Yes, thank you. Pretty much, like, kind of harder than any guy. I know, it upsets me.
The holidays must be weird, huh?
Fortunately, I don't go for Christmas because we're Jewish, but Passover is very upsetting. It's upsetting, you know.
Don't make eye contact.
Yeah, and then you're supposed to be like dipping the salt water because it like symbolizes tears, and I can't even look at her. I'm like, oh, like, this is just, but so then she's doing that, and then raising her kids. And so this is like a quick little side story, a fun little anecdote that her kids, who I've met many times. In fact, I might be the cool cousin. Might be, right? Is that true?
She needs this.
I really, yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, sure.
All I'll say is that your son follows me on Instagram, and he used to like more of my posts.
He's getting quite an education, I'm sure.
Oh my God. Sometimes I see that he and his other cousins look at my stories about like, I need to get fucked. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate this. I hate this. But basically the kids, so he was 10, your daughter was 6. They were walking home from the park, which you taught them how to do. Because you taught them the route and all this stuff. You're giving them like little responsibilities. You and I were together in New York. And then your son called you because, this is such a funny story. The police had picked them up, brought them home, and then threatened your husband, Sasha, and said basically you weren't allowed to let your kids walk home from the park alone. And then they contacted Child Protective Services, who said essentially over time that they were going to try to, basically they wanted to take away your kids if you let them walk. And this is why we're jealous of you, of course. No, the reason that we're jealous, that I'm jealous, is because not only did you go, like, that's bullshit, and I know that that's like, that infringes on my rights. I mean, you fought them and they like wouldn't back down and all this stuff, and they kept escalating things. But then you were like, I know so much that I'm right that I'm going to go to the media and tell the media. And then it became this like insane case in the US called the free range mom. And you were, I mean, I went with you to the Today Show, and you were on TV with your kids.
So she's been on TV, and I own a TV, but that's about as close as that.
How's this? When we were backstage in the green room, we were back there with
that's right.
Ivanka Trump. Ivanka or Ivana? Yeah. The daughter, Trump. Yeah. Ivanka Trump. And she looked like a cupcake without anything between her. I mean, her eyes, it was like,
it was like a Barbie doll. I mean, she looked exactly like the dress. I was like, holy, like the proportion, everything. I was like, this person isn't real.
Yes,
she was. Who it was at first.
She was not back there. There was nothing. It was all like, it was like looking into the eyes of a deer.
It's very weird.
And so, but then you like fought so hard that they eventually changed the law in Maryland in favor of you, and they dismissed the case and everything like that. That was something that was embarrassing. It was like you fought the cops and CPS, Child Protective Services, all this stuff, and then they were like, you'll see, and then it was like, oh shit, we're wrong. Thank God you were white. That's all I'll say.
No question.
Yeah. But then, okay, sorry. I'm like, it's such a, I mean, I know too much about you. This is why this is the most detailed biography ever. But basically you ran for political office after that. Which was like, I mean, super intense.
I'll just dip my toe in politics now.
Seriously. Okay. Yeah. This was so much fun. I think I'll just put myself, I'll put myself up here to be flayed by anybody forever.
That's pretty much what politics is, right?
Yeah, totally. And then didn't win. Everybody who won it was like all white men for the city council, and then like one black woman. I think that was who won, right?
It was all men, and one was a black man.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Why did I think there was a woman there? And then
there were no women ran that one.
Well, they're better that way, I think. Right. and then decided
all the yapping and the shopping,
It's so boring,
Right. It's all the menstrual stuff. I mean, once a month they're just useless on the council, so it saves everybody time.
Well, I thought it was really unprofessional when you pulled your tampon out when you were angry at him and just threw it at that guy's face. I was like, this is not a good way. What do I know? She's been on TV. She knows more than me. But then after all that, you became certified as a health coach, and then have now gone viral on TikTok. So I think that's, yeah.
I can't even, I get into fights with children half my age on TikTok. That's what I do. And I have like 3 followers. And so I'm very upset. I can't even say TikTok without feeling like I'm about to have like an aneurysm out of anger.
Well, I'm like out of breath. That was like because we've done this for like a lot of guests. I've never gone on for that long about anybody.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
there's too many to somebody else. You don't quite know everybody's biography in excruciating details. You do mine.
That is true.
Too many
painful detail.
Too many accomplishments, but also, to be fair, you are the first official grown-up we've actually had on this podcast.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like Eve said, listen, like, can you not be high? Like, she had to ask me to not be high. And I was like, Eve, I'm aware this is your cousin. This is an actual adult. Like, I'm too scared to be high. Like, I can't,
guys, I don't like CPS. I'm not going to like report you to CPS. Like, you're not that little. It's okay.
It's true. And also she's in another country. And now I'm in New York where it's legal. But I was like, Catherine, do me a favor. Because there was a time when we were doing this and it was like 2 a.m. Catherine's time and things were rough on her. So she was like, after 6 p.m. I'm high and that's the way it is. And so we'd be on the thing and she'd be like, well, I just think I'm jealous of you because you're, but anyway, I was like, please don't. But then I don't have to ask because she's meditating now and doing really well. So, all right. So Danny, what's your response to all this? Is your life this like glowing kind of yellow brick road of success? And it looks really easy to me, I think. Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, thanks for being here.
Okay, bye. Yeah. What are you talking about? Like, I do this shit in my sleep. Come on. Yeah. No, it's fabulous. No, seriously. It's all my fault. It's true. I'm willing to own up to, that. It's all my fault. I mean, I basically, like, it really is my fault since I've been literally, like, I helped raise Eve from the time she was 7.
That's true.
So pretty much all of her shit is my fault.
That's true. Well, it is true. When I was 7, and we've talked on this podcast, Catherine, I don't know if I ever told you this, but my mother died when I was a kid.
Yeah, maybe you told me once, but
I'm sorry to break it to you this way, but my dad. I know. Yeah, it's a family joke actually, and so my mom died, and it was like 1992. Danny was living in New York City, working for the Parks Department. And my dad was like, well, this is fantastic because I am so tired. I'll just give her to you and you can raise her. And that's like essentially what happened. So for an entire year, I spent like so many weekends with Danny, who was infecting me with all this feminist ideology. She had hairy pits.
I'm still doing it. I was complaining about the patriarchy then. I'm going to be about the patriarchy now. There's a theme at least going through this all.
That's true. It is true. I mean, so everything it is your fault. And then Catherine
and I blame you blame me and I blame the patriarchy. There's always somebody else to blame. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's true. But
well, I guess I'm just so along the way, I mean, it seems like you achieved every single thing that you set out to do. Was there any point where it felt like that wasn't going to happen? Like,
that's a good question.
Well, I didn't win running for office. And I have to tell you, thank fucking God, because holy shit,
but I hate being even that worked out for you. You're like, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that didn't work out.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I would have hated that so much. No, yeah, I'd say from like the whole free marriage mom thing from like 2015 until health coaching, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing with the rest of my life? So yeah, no, it was definitely like that mid 40s, like I have this oceanography degree and I don't want to admit to anybody that was an awesome run, but I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like doing policy anymore. So no, there was a period where I was like, okay, like I'm only in my 40s and I'm fucking bored. Now what do I do? So
I'm bored, so I'm going to do something else amazing. Like
I do a completely different career.
Like when I'm bored, I'm like, should I do the MDMA that I have sitting here? Like that's where my mind goes. I'm like, should I do drugs? Like that's like I'm not like maybe run for office. So I'm just the motivation.
It was kind of a spur of the moment decision.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. Right?
I've been going to all these political meetings. I blame Bernie Sanders. It's all Bernie Sanders' fault. I was like, yes, we're all going to run for office and take over the world. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that didn't work. So then I decided a couple of years ago. Well, Eve knows we spent like 10 years talking about health coaching and stuff, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, sure, I'll do this. But no, I did not expect it to take off. Like it usually, I expected I'd get like a client here and a client there, and it would take me like ages to do well on social media. And then like I told Eve, I'm not actually convinced that the TikTok, I honestly think the TikTok algorithm has become sentient, and this is actually all happening in the Matrix. Like, this isn't real. It's like the algorithm runs my entire life. I'm just imagining all of this.
I don't even know what the word is that you just said.
Sentient.
like
that's
why?
Because you haven't seen. But when was the last time you saw The Matrix? Come on, I have teenagers. I watch these things. Like, it's when the computers become alive.
When they become conscious, basically.
When they become conscious,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sentient, right?
Like sentient beings.
I live with a theoretical physicist. Like, this really is how people talk sometimes.
Right. Her husband is, they're just a bunch of fucking losers in that house. Just, you know, a bunch of underachieving, won't get off the couch, you know, just, yeah. I mean, exactly. It is definitely the nerdiest household I've ever been in.
It really is that nerdy.
You know, but it's like, the food is fantastic. I will say that.
Yeah, my husband's a really good cook. He's the cook.
Oh, he's the cook.
She's a good cook though too.
Fucking cook. Oh, okay.
I mean, I like cooking, but he's like, is the kind that like can open the refrigerator and be like, we have 4 things. And then he's like, here's this fabulous dinner. Like, how the hell did you do that?
It's really good.
A couple of hot dogs and some lettuce. I don't know what you just did.
So but, you also, in this, you also found love in a compatible way, because normally you get to, I guess, isn't that the stereotype, right? That you get to have like the career and everything, but you might not get to have the love and the family, but you also have that as well.
We do. No, it's definitely really good. In fact, I didn't tell you this, but yesterday, now we've accelerated our plans, and not this fall, but a year from this fall. So in 2020, what fucking year is it? 2022. We're probably going to spend that year. That's when we're heading to France. Like, we're just so fucking done with this. We're just done.
So they're moving they were moving to France before COVID, and then COVID happened. And so, I guess now you're over it.
Now, we were going to go do a sabbatical and then be like, oh yeah, sometime in the future. And now we're like, with COVID, we're like this, if we have to wait out the apocalypse, I'd much rather do it with like good food, public transportation, and like nice architecture. Because it's like the end of time. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it like in the south of France.
Whereas I'm like, I'll just hang out with this rat and his burrito. You know?
Exactly. So my husband and I definitely have like those kinds of like, I found an adventurer, which is good.
But so this is what, because I was like writing notes, right, about you. Right, and I've
like this is your life, but like the mean version.
I know. Yeah. But I was thinking this, right? Because so we talked about many times when you were Bronx Science, when you were a kid, that you would do like well on something, and that your teacher would be like, well, Danielle cheated, right? Like on these science tests.
Oh, no, that wasn't science. That was actually middle school, what do we call it then? Junior high school. Now my kids are middle school. Yeah, junior high school.
And that people would accuse you of like cheating because you were smart and you were a woman or girl, whatever. But then it's like, and then, okay, so you grow up and you're like raising your kids and you're just trying to do a good job and like raise them in a way that's like kind of, like, the best parts of how you were raised and trying to be responsible, and then you get like almost arrested, and then you end up like kind of the whipping post or whatever it's called for like all these like helicopter parents who are like, you're a terrible mother, and then now you're on TikTok and you're like putting yourself out there with these like videos, and some of them are like very kind of science-based and whatever, but then other ones are just kind of like dancing or like whatever. And I'm just like, because it's funny because Catherine and I are comedians, and I think comedians have like this reputation for like, wow, you're so brave, like, oh my, but like I know what I'm gonna say. I only let people in like a certain way. I'm like really kind of, I don't know, I kind of protect against any certain kind of judgment. But so I'm just like, because you're sensitive, like, like we're cousins, like we talk, and it's like, but you keep not ending up, but like so much of your kind of adult life, especially, has been people talking shit about you and you like seeing it, like, and then like just like in your face. All my fault. Right. But how do you deal with it? Like, how do you really deal with it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, I definitely realize like I've definitely been a lightning rod my whole life. Like that's just part of who I am. It's definitely, and I think that's, I realized on TikTok and with the whole free range mom thing, I embraced it. I was like, okay, yep, that's right. That's me. And
what do you mean? What do you mean by that? If I can.
So that's a good, I mean, what is it? It's kind of like, there are certain things that definitely scare the shit out of me. Like there's definitely places where I'm more vulnerable and I'm like, parts of me that other people don't get to see. This is why, therapists, I think that's what therapists are for, right? I had a great therapy session this morning.
Right.
And then there are other things where, I feel like almost my role in life is to kind of be the courageous one when around things that other people have trouble being courageous, feeling that courage. And it's not like, for some reason, like when we're talking about this stuff on TikTok, and I'll like talk about like the thing, that was pissing me off this week. Well, every week, but that women do get so much shit. People with chronic illnesses in general get just so abused by the medical system, and people in general, but then especially women and chronic illnesses and just women, they're not taken seriously and so on. And I mean, what people resonates with people is that I get really pissed and I talk about it. And people are like, holy shit, that's been me too. So, and I guess it was a free range mom thing too. I guess those two things just didn't, to me, it's gonna sound real good, but to me, they didn't take that much courage. Those aren't the things that scare me. Do you know what I mean? Like there are other things that scare me. The things that scare other people aren't necessarily things that scare me, and vice versa. So I'm like, well, I can take that hit because that doesn't bother me. So.
Well, I want to know something that scares you then, because like these things
I'm not
are
telling you that.
It's just, I guess it's just like you seem to have faced the music a lot, which like a lot of people can't or won't do unless they're forced to, which I would say like is where I've been, like currently, like in COVID, like I've had to face and Henry.
I don't know if I can face Henry. That's beyond me.
There we go. Okay. Well, it's just it's very impressive that you chose these paths rather than like we're backed into a corner to where you like had to deal with it. Rather, you were like, I'm going to face it head on instead, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's definitely always been, well, my second grade teacher told my mom that I was an iconoclast.
Right. Do you know that is?
My mom had to look it up.
I was like, Catherine doesn't know.
My mom had to look it up, and I was like, what does that mean? Okay.
I only know what it is because of you. That's the only reason I know. Yeah.
Right. One who smashes idols, like one who, like goes against authority, just doesn't accept things as they are. But it was always like, but why? And, doesn't. So when I was 7, this is what my teacher said about me. So clearly this was like my destiny.
When you called your teacher a dumb bitch. But
I know she was actually, and I was talking to my brother about this, and he's like, oh, that doesn't sound like a compliment. I'm like, no, actually it really was like that. I loved that teacher, I think. And that's what it was, is that to her, it was a like, good for you. You're going to go out there, you're going to challenge things. You're not going to take shit. She didn't say that because she was a nice, like Jewish lady from New York and raised in the 50s, but I'm sure she was thinking it. But it's my personality.
But do you think though that in a way it's like, in a way, you were back to, you are that person, but also they did back you into a fucking corner in some ways, right? With Child Protective Services. And then even with becoming a health coach, it was because you were struggling.
I was one of those people who was abused, just had to fight the system and so on. So,
but
I think for me, that is it. Part of it is that it's, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to volunteer for this. It's that I've been there. And the whole thing with CPS, I really do get so indignant at that kind of injustice. It's just, and I don't even mean the abstract, like injustice. Yes, of course, injustice is wrong, but this like, no, you can't do that. No, that's, I'm not going to accept that. They were just bullies. They were just bullies. That's really what it is. I can't stand fucking bullies.
Yeah.
That's what CPS was. And that's what they do. They just, I hear from parents even now, it's been 6 years and they just bully people. And like, it's just the powerful picking on the weak to make themselves more powerful. And that's when you walk into a doctor's office and they're so fucking arrogant because they have that MD. They haven't learned a goddamn thing in the 15 years since I left medical school, but they know. And they're not going to listen. And it's just bullying. And I just can't stand bullies.
What I love about it is like, and I know because you and I have talked about it. And I also know that a lot of doctors, it's true, they are so arrogant, right? But I love that, like, how often do you hear somebody be like, these fucking doctors, they haven't learned a goddamn thing since medical school. And they're just fucking bullies. But I just think
it's stupid.
It's just funny because I think at the age that we're still at, that Catherine and I are in our like mid-30s, that it's like we haven't, I guess a lot of people do have chronic health problems. And actually I'm realizing that I'm like, oh, I probably have No, who did? Me?
You, that's what we've been talking about.
Oh, right. Yeah, you and I have been.
For
right.
10 years.
Right. Oh, me personally, you mean?
Yeah. That's what
right. That I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. But, it's not a problem if you don't acknowledge it. I mean.
I tried that. I tried that for the first 10 years of being sick, and it didn't work.
But I will
don't actually advise denial, because I've tried that too. It's a very good health technique.
I forget if I said this. I don't think I've said this in one of the podcasts. And this is like, so the thing I've like, how I said, like, when you just stand up, you just don't, there's certain things I don't show about myself. One of them, I'll say it. Catherine's heard me talk about this before, that I, since I was like just out of college, I would get like little hairs on my chin, which I know I can only, I think
wolf hairs.
Yes. Wolf hairs. Yeah. That's what Catherine
And so kind of you.
Well, she gets them too. Catherine gets them too. And
I mean, most women I know have.
Yes.
In some one form or another,
Right. On your chin or whatever. And I've never gotten a regular period. Like I got my period when I was 11 and a half. And I've never had it like every 4 weeks or every 5 weeks, like consistently. It's always like whenever it feels like it. Basically, whenever
I'm here.
And it never comes, it's not like I get my period the night of the date. I get my period a week after the date, so that on the date, I'm furious and my tits hurt. And I am so sensitive to smell that I'm like, you're disgusting. Like, that's like what happens to me. My period's just like, okay, I'm going to come a week after you really want to feel relaxed. I'm going to make you so not relaxed. But anyway, so I've had a regular period and then hair on my chin and stuff. And it got really bad. Like over the years, like I would have to pluck like every couple of days, and then I would pluck every day. And then during COVID, it was like, what is fucking happening? Like I'm morphing into a dude, and it bummed me out so much. It bummed me out like so. It just made me feel. I mean, it's funny when people talk about gender and stuff, but I don't really know I don't know any of that shit. I don't know. I've thought about it. I thought about it on mushrooms, gender and rape. Right. And then but like, I just, the big questions here, I have no answers, but it made me feel like less of a woman for sure to have like these fucking whiskers, wolf hairs. And then Danny started health coaching. And then, I mentioned this like offhand, like just like not thinking that you were going to do anything for me. I didn't think that it was really possible. And you were like, okay, you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I've read this article and it says this. So I want you to take these supplements, right? And not even prescriptions, just like berberine, which is it's an extract from grapes. And some, like, I make a tea, I'm drinking it right now, like whatever. And within 2 weeks, it stopped completely. 2.5 weeks, like not a single fucking hair. So I don't know. It makes me, that's for anybody listening who has PCOS. It's fine. You don't have to have wolf hairs for life. You're not,
you can stop shaving your face.
I mean, it is such I bought a package of laser, of laser hair, but I got one, it didn't do shit. I started taking these things. And I was going to go back for more, but I started taking these supplements and it just stopped like literally overnight. So I don't know. I think it is. Yeah. It's kind of, I was going to say, so here I am in this whole thing like, oh yeah, people our age don't have any health problems. And then I'm like, I was growing a fucking beard. And then now I'm not, but yes, because I'm taking your health course at the moment. And I'm not eating gluten or dairy or sugar. Or cum, anyone.
Well, no, but you can.
But that was not my choice.
They don't eat gluten or dairy or sugar. You need to like start screening the men. So what have you had recently? I don't want to like expose. I don't know.
Is gluten in cum? Oh my God, are there carbs in cum?
I don't know. Let's find out. When I was breastfeeding, I couldn't eat certain things. So maybe, we're going to say, guys, like, no.
Right.
No
right.
gluten, no dairy.
Sucking dick is the breastfeeding for men. Like, that's the...
I'm only going to go down on people who don't eat gluten.
Right. Well, Catherine, keep that in mind for Mark.
It seems like
we're a whole gluten-free household. I just want to point that out. Just in case.
It seems like you've just been on this, path of like, I guess, sort of positive change forever. I mean, your whole life. No, because
Well, I got to say the good news, and this is like the best shit happens I mean, and like, this sounds so cliche, but really the best shit happens after 40. And no, the really best shit really happens like at 50. And like 40, I remember thinking, you know what? I really just want to start like getting over myself. Like just the shit I don't like about myself. I'm just going to be like, this is who I am. Fuck it. Like it took an entire decade, by the way. And I'm not there, but I just remember very consciously thinking like at 40, I'm going to give myself the gift of like not giving a shit as much as possible about stupid ass things.
But how do you do that? How do you do that? Because I know that it's not easy, right? It's not just like...
No, it's not easy. I mean, I think a lot of it is, well, you and I mean, first I want to talk to my cousin for hours on end about every single aspect of human psychology we can possibly think about. Yes.
I don't really like to talk that much, so it must be someone else. I think.
It must have been a different cousin, right? Right. All those long calls when we write our artist date spreadsheet, which I still have, by the way.
Oh yeah, through the artist way. Anyway, yeah,
the artist way, right? And was that part of it? And also, I mean, a lot of it is removing a lot of toxic people from your life and being like, yeah, I don't actually need to hang out with those people anymore. Even like I'm done with those folks. But also like and I think that's when I started being like, what do I want to do with my life? Maybe I want to change careers. Like, you know, am I really happy with this? So the whole free range mom thing happened. I was basically like, you don't understand. Don't fuck with me. I've been in a mood this entire decade. Like, no. And then when I hit 50, I was really, you know, that whole like, you know, the meme, like I have no fucks left to give. Oh yeah. Like the periods go and so do the fucks. Not the fucking, by the way. I want to be very clear. It's the not having fucks to give. I still take fucks. That's okay. I'm still into that. But be very clear, that's not what I'm talking about.
The thing that I wonder, right? Because it's like, okay, I don't know. I mean, I think for me it's been easier because I've had you, but you didn't have someone like me. But someone like yourself. But it's like, how do you like you changed? So I mean, in our family, people tend to be a little bit like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, it's like, we're so not the Jewish stereotype of like lawyer and doctor, except for like one doctor who's not a dick. He's a decent doctor. But it's like, everybody else is like,
he's actually inspired a lot of the health coaching stuff. I mean,
yes,
cool
our cousin Josh. Yeah. But I think it's like, but everybody else is kind of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And people change their minds. But I think it's like with you, I think that there's a lot of judgment sometimes, like of like, oh, like this person's so wishy-washy, they're so capricious, right? I think that's the word. Yeah. Right? They change.
Well, I did invest 20 years in being a scientist. Most people don't call you capricious after that.
But I mean, but how did you know? Like, because you must have had like self-doubts and stuff, or like, I mean, but how did you know? Yeah. Like, so like, what about that? Like
you're like, I don't want to hear the success. We want to hear the.
Well, I want to know. Inside. I want to know. Yeah, like what was going on inside. Yeah.
So very. I mean, Well, sir, I've had 6 therapists in my life, so 6 or 7. So yeah, there must. I've been paying them money. It must have been coming up with some dirt.
Right.
So yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is imposter syndrome. I mean, that's fucking huge in general. And then also, especially a woman going into a male-dominated field. I mean, science is just such like there's always that imposter syndrome. Like, yeah, everybody. Oh, I'm like, oh, you're so smart, but what if they find out I'm really not? And what if I really can't do as well as people think I'm going to do? Oh, and by the way, another interesting thing. In December, I was diagnosed. Well, self and doctor diagnosed with ADHD formally, which is like I kind of suspected for years because there's no question that my son had ADHD. In fact, we took him out of the public schools for that, and because we just wanted a better environment, for him. And I was like, oh, maybe I do too. But I never really took it seriously. I was just like, oh, and then I started learning more about it because actually when I started doing the health coaching, I was working on a novel. And then I was like, no, I'm going to start. And I was like, I can't get to the end of either of these projects. Like I can start it. And the way I described it, and I was talking to my uncle who also has ADHD, I can see the beginning and I absolutely know where I want to be. And in between is a dark forest, and I have no fucking clue of like, I know there's a path, but I can't see it because it's just pitch black. Like I'm here and like I could be over there. And I was like, and I got this sort of thought in my head, like, that's what that is. And I literally started Googling it. Like, why can't I see, I have the beginning of the novel and I'll get I have 5 manuscripts, like 65, 70% of the way done. And I know the ending. And I'm like, what, like, why can't I figure out the ending, like the completion of this? And then I was like, I can't figure out with my health coaching either. Like, what is this? I started looking it up thinking like, maybe there's like a productivity tip. And we went down this rabbit hole. I'm like, this is really typical of ADHD. And so is this. And so is this. And so I'm like, oh, these pieces of my life are, typical of this. And it wasn't so much like, okay, therefore, I mean, medication can be phenomenal. And there's sometimes I'm like looking because I got my little bottle of ADHD pills over here.
Which I'm going to come down there. I'm going to come down there and take some to snort.
You're not the only ones who get to play with drugs. Come on.
Can you crush some of that up for me?
Here.
Yeah.
These
oh my God.
Yeah.
God. Turning me on again. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. So, but so I mean, that can be, I don't take it every day, but a lot of times it's, really helpful, but it was more like the mindset of realizing it's not me. Like, this is just a way of having your brain wired. And there's so many things like what you're saying about like, how come you weren't scared of this or that? Like some people, like there's sort of this, so she's a superpower, but for me in many ways, it really has been like that. Like I've always been really good at making associations between different ideas and being creative in that way, or remembering a lot of trivia and stuff, which is really great when you're a health coach and you're like, oh, let me diagnose. I've read 17 papers and here's all the various like weird pieces of information I'm gonna put together. So realizing that in many ways had been a strength. And I'm like, okay, so where is it a weakness and what do I need to do about it? But a lot of people, especially women with ADHD, have huge imposter syndrome because on one hand, we're really smart. And on the other hand, there is a struggle to act kind of normal and to perform in a certain way. And there's like, and actually, okay, I just came to this realization. Actually, I was talking to this therapist and I literally came to this realization in the last month. So I did really well in undergraduate. So I didn't have the typical, like very disorganized. That wasn't my flavor of ADHD. Because I'm one of the rare women who has hyperactive and the hyperactive version. Most people think distracted and attentive, like the girls who are like daydreaming, which is what my daughter is like, absolutely like that. I was like definitely, in this day and age, they'd be like, get that girl some meds. Like she is so clearly has ADHD. Right. And so, but nobody thought about that back then. So anyway, so it was always, I did well in college, but there was always this sense of, if I took on more, could I handle it? Like, could I, at some point, the ball's all going to drop. Like I can keep a lot of balls in the air, but they're going to drop. So I was accepted to Cornell's PhD program for evolutionary biology, ecology and evolutionary biology. And I turned it down.
Yeah, I remember that. Wow. Right.
And I was really like, I decided I wanted to do a program. I wanted to go to a program that had a terminal master's where I could get a master's instead of commit to the PhD. And maybe I wanted to do oceanography and they gave me, but it wasn't until, and there was legitimate reasons why I decided to go to University of Rhode Island in this program. But I realized, kind of thinking back and talking to a therapist, that feeling of, are these the balls I'm not gonna be able to keep in the air? And I can't, like, there's something wrong with me. Like, I can't say to somebody, how do you juggle all this work? Because I'm supposed to be able to. That imposter syndrome is, I'm gonna pretend that everything's fine. I can't, everybody's expecting everything to be fine. So I'm gonna pretend everything is fine and not reveal that it isn't fine. And so it was literally like in the last maybe a month and a half, I was like, that ADHD is the reason why I turned down Cornell. And on one hand, it kind of makes me sad, like that I didn't have the support then, but it also alleviated this whole, like, what the fuck was wrong with me? Why didn't I go for that?
Because I remember that. I remember thinking I just remember thinking, why not go?
Yeah. And but you had it. Why. Yeah. It was like that fear of like, maybe this is the thing I can't handle, because that was like really, and also the expectations were so high. I mean, the woman who wanted me in her lab loved me and was like, oh my God, that's great. And you're such great. You should apply for a National Science Foundation. And I think that's what freaked me out. A National Science Foundation grant is like the pinnacle of, you get that and you're fucking ride. Like the US government is paying your ride to graduate school. You're like the cream of the, you're just like royalty. And I was like, I can't go for, that's too scary. Like that's where everybody's going to realize that I don't have my shit together and I'm not as smart. I can't, that I will fall on my face and fail. Like I think that was the fear. And I literally realized, and then when I started talking about ADHD, like, fuck, that's why I didn't go to Cornell, because of this, like, constantly acting normal, acting like I've got it all together.
Wow. Well, my shortcomings are not quite so like glamorous. I'm like, I was gonna take the LSAT to apply to law school. But I didn't. But I'm sure I could have gotten into Harvard. I didn't have it in me. I told my nephew, like his uncle, his mother's brother is a lawyer. And he's like, ask what a lawyer is. And then I said, well, Aunt Eve was almost a lawyer. And my sister-in-law laughed. She's like, no, you were not almost a lawyer. But then you're talking about this. I'm like, God, what is it like to just be so smart? I mean, anyway, but what were you going to say, Catherine? What were you going to say?
No, I'm just listening.
Oh, sorry. I'm just like, I threw you the ball and you weren't. Sorry.
She was like, no.
Well, I think what's so interesting, because, you know, we've always been really close, but I never considered myself smart. And you were the one who like told me, you're smart. And I'm like, no, I'm an underachiever. Like, you know, because my mother had died and nobody helped me do my homework. But anyway, stop complaining. But I think it's like, it's such a different world to kind of, to hear somebody know that there's intelligent. Like, I mean, you'd have to be, right? You'd have to, you can't get accepted for a PhD program at Cornell for some kind of science and be like, but I'm just a humble, you know, doctoral candidate, you know,
well,
like whatever.
Just a humble page, right. Well, you know, then actually I probably shouldn't tell you that I was waitlisted at Princeton for the same program, right?
No. I didn't fucking know that.
I only applied to 2 programs. And I remember thinking like afterwards, like, how fucking crazy was that? What was like my Cornell, my safe school? Like that was really arrogant, actually.
Wow.
But you know what's funny is, so the other thing, okay, so if we're really gonna like lay it all out, here we go. Okay, so this is what I've really been talking to my therapist about a lot. So growing up, right, being a girl, and I did know that I was smart. Like that was something that what's funny is that I knew I was smart. My brother's a fucking genius. And he's going to be listening to this, Rand. You know, I think you're a fucking genius, right?
He does. I know he listens to the podcast, and I try not to think about it because I'm like, he loves,
oh, by the way, he hasn't heard these, like the joint ones you're doing yet, but he's listened to every single solo podcast you've done. He told me that today.
Oh, right. I guess
once you got out of your own way, you're going to kill it on TikTok. Cause he's like, oh my God, she's going to be so funny. Anyway.
Oh God. So, I really, you know, it's so hard. Yeah.
Don't worry. You'll figure it out. You totally will. But but the thing that's interesting is I realized like that I learned very early on, and I learned, right? But like that there was a choice, and this goes back to the whole radical feminist thing, you know, when those days on some unconscious level, that there was a choice between I could be really smart and being taken seriously as a smart person, or I could be seen sexually as a woman. They were not compatible. You couldn't be, right? Like if I could either be feminine or I could be smart. Like that was, and I learned it on some like unconscious level, and that there was this contradiction between the two. So this whole, like, I never doubted that. And it's funny because I've always had boyfriends and, you know, but there was still this sense of like, I don't know, like that was a fluke. The smart wasn't that I can rely on this. And literally like you ever since, you know, you've known me, like, you know, from the time I was 18 till I got married, you know, the longest I went without like a serious boyfriend was like a year, you know. And
they were always
without sex was a year from the time
I don't want to hear that. I've just gone over a year without sex. But they were always really tall, and they always gave me piggyback ride, or sorry, shoulder ride.
Right. He's like, Scott, I get that, and Bill did that. That's right.
It was great. I had a really good childhood, except for my mother dying.
I don't think TJ's not tall, but he probably did. He didn't give you a piggyback ride. You were already a bat mitzvah. Like that was your. No, that's that. Mm-hmm. He did drive you to the salon to get your makeup done. He and I were talking about that.
On my bat mitzvah. Oh my God, this is such a Catherine. You didn't know that this was like really like a walk down memory lane.
Right. And then Eve's encounters with my boyfriends. That's what we're all talking about.
That sounds sketchy, but but I remember I got blue nails on my bat mitzvah, which cost $100, and I came home and told my dad, and we had a massive fight about it. And I was like, I'm getting bat mitzvah. How could you fight with me about this? But yeah, that's interesting. I had the same feeling with stand-up, actually. I remember in Australia, when I started talking about sex more during stand-up, that I thought to myself, you can either be funny or fuckable. And I felt like
that's exactly, I mean, that was exactly it. And like I said, literally there was no, like the evidence, I was talking to my therapist about this. I'm like, there's evidence to the contrary. Like I was, you know, I had dates, but somewhere in the back of my mind, somebody even thought that it was unattractive. It's almost like asexual. Like that's just not on the agenda. And which is clearly wasn't the case my entire life, but there was still this like weird, like those were two different people. And it wasn't until like my 30s and then my 40s. And then I was like, oh, these are actually the same person. I can be smart and have a good sex life. How about that? And be like, consider myself attractive. I was like, oh, that's really kind of interesting. So that was the weird, like you're saying, like knowing you're smart, like kind of had this weird trade-off.
Well, also I think it's interesting because I know that you're working with like women who now are like going through menopause and stuff like that, and there's all this stuff around sex. Anyway, I know that you and I have been talking about sex, and so now it's becoming like a big, I can't wait till you start becoming like the Dr. Ruth of TikTok and start like posting about like lube and your vaginal walls and all these things like that.
I'm totally all. I was actually talking to my therapist, who, by the way, like one of her specialties is sex therapy, so we talk about like all kinds of things all the time. And I was like, oh yeah, like I totally want to become like the senior sex expert. Like I'm going to be like, okay, ladies, we need to talk about hormone replacement because that libido it's not checked out forever. Trust me. Just really, you're good.
Well, now you've transitioned your business to TikTok, right? Successfully, which I also, like I mentioned at the beginning, I don't even understand how, because as far as I'm concerned.
Neither do I, actually. Like, this is
well, but
mystifying me.
Catherine hates TikTok. Oh, it's okay, Catherine. Don't be afraid to tell her that.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I guess it's just
I'm offended. I'm offended on behalf of TikTok. On behalf of the Chinese owners of TikTok, I am totally offended. This is Asian hate, isn't it?
Oh, yes. You know what? I'm racist. Thank you. You found me.
You don't like TikTok. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. You're really a Trumper, aren't you? That's why. You're right there with Trump. You don't like TikTok.
I don't like TikTok. But I mean, you have how many followers on TikTok? Like,
I looked, but it says she's got 70,000 followers.
70,000 followers.
70.2.
Yeah. And for like, because I guess, I associate TikTok with like, booty clapping or whatever. Right. And so then everybody, but you have, you're able to.
And I have yet to do the booty clap. I can't answer that.
Like, so you haven't had to, I guess I associate TikTok with something like I have to sacrifice part of like what I believe to be, I don't know, I guess like myself, like to be on TikTok, but you are going on there as you promoting your business and your health coaching, and you're doing it successfully and generating more business and sacrificing nothing that you're
none of your principles.
Yeah, it is weird. It's weird.
So weird. And my daughter's on TikTok. Like I thought when I have this business sort of online business class community, and when somebody was like, oh, you should try, we're talking about social media. I'm like, I was saying to my husband, I'm like, it's so funny that I thought I was going to hate the marketing side, but because I was thinking of it as like this really like artificial, salesy, like used car salesman kind of thing. And then somebody in this business community was like, no, you should try TikTok. And I was like, isn't that like for 12-year-olds? Like my daughter's on TikTok. Like she's doing dances on TikTok. And they're like, no, this woman, Melissa, you should check out Melissa. She's doing great. And I checked this woman, I've become good friends with, Melissa Neal. She's actually in Bristol. And she's a health coach for women over 40. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, I can imagine doing this. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to try TikTok. I started looking into it. I'm like, oh yeah, there definitely are people. And the space isn't nearly as crowded. There's like, I count on one hand the number of people doing what I'm doing. Whereas on Instagram, I have 400 followers on Instagram, and most of them are because they came from TikTok. I think I'm up to 1,000 on my personal account, but again, they're like, oh, we want to see if there's more. We'll go over to Instagram.
And by the way, and what you're doing just is like, your name on TikTok your name on TikTok is Thyroid Coach Danielle. It's not like hot pussy
or something.
Yeah, it's not like tight lip teen. It's not like something fucking. No. Do you know what I mean? Like it happened so fast. It was only like
it was great. No, I started on Super Bowl Sunday. I had 60 followers.
And what day was that? When was that?
That was February 6th or 7th or something like that.
What the fuck?
Right.
I know. No, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, so what happened was, it was like I had 10,000, I had 20, I was excited. I had 22,000 followers on April 2nd. I had 22,000 followers, and I was like, fuck, this is great, man. That's 20 something thousand followers in a couple, this is amazing. I was so excited. Because you have to get to 1,000 for to be able to go live and things like that. And I was like, yeah, this is great. My business was doing great with 20,000 followers. And then we had come home from a weekend with my in-laws, and I'm like tired. It's the end of the, long drive. I realized I hadn't really put anything on TikTok. I used to do it like every day for the first couple of months. And then I'm like a couple of times a week, hadn't really done much. So I was like, I have a video I recorded. So I recorded some of the things are like memes where you do these little dance or lip syncs, but not dance as in I'm going to do the, my daughter likes the whatever. It's more like a funny, I'm lip syncing to some song, and then I'll put over it something relevant to my niche about thyroid health, by the way. Like this is not, I'm not even talking about like how to get better erections. I'm talking about my thyroid. Like it's not that interesting. And so I was like, oh, I had this little like lip sync to Kelly Clarkson's Broken and Beautiful. You know, I don't need you to lower the bar for me. And it's me like after I just worked out. So I'm like showing my biceps or whatever. And I'm just, you know, doing this whole like lip syncing, 40 seconds of me lip syncing to Kelly Clarkson. I put that up Friday night. By Saturday morning, it had 17,000 views. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Wow, 17,000 views. Like, that's great. And I got a whole bunch of views. Yeah, by Sunday night, it had 450,000 views. I was like, what the fuck? Like, who knew that the world was waiting for me to lip sync to Kelly Clarkson and talk about my thyroid? Like, I showed it to my friend and he's like, are you sure you're not doing that naked? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm then flattered that you think that 400,000 people would like to watch me lip sync naked to Kelly Clarkson. But no, I'm just talking about thyroid health.
But then I looked at it the other day. It's up to almost 900,000 now.
Yeah, 900. Me lip syncing to Kelly Clarkson.
And that keeps getting you more and more followers and other videos.
And so that just went like, and then just recently it just took off again. Like you could see, it was funny because it has like a couple of bumps. I was like, oh, this whole thing, and then it was like, woo. I was like, holy shit.
Well, then,
yeah.
Selfishly, I have to ask you, because Catherine and I have talked about this. So Catherine doesn't like TikTok, right? I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, right? That's fine, right? So Catherine doesn't like TikTok, and I'm like fascinated by it. I think it's actually really fun. I love animal videos. In fact, I keep the other day I was like editing a clip for Catherine does the video editing, and I was like, oh, I'll do one. And then I sent it to her, and then I was like, oh shit, I sent you the wrong one. And I edited an animal clip into that, like that so that she's watching it. And then it's very funny. It's an alpaca running to a Busta Rhymes song. Anyway, it was so fun. I kept sending it to her in different forms. Like every time she would say something, I'd be like, by the way, have you thought about this? And I would just send it. It felt like such a loser, but also I was dying. I'm so funny. But anyway, I've said, all right, if you do the video editing, I will do the promo. I'll do the marketing, right? And you like this. I don't know what to do. I'm so intimidated. And it's like, if we put up clips of our podcast, it's not enough. Like TikTok wants you to make little videos of yourself and
content for TikTok.
Yes. And I am horrified.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
First. Yeah, well, the same thing. I was like, my first ones were like, here I am, and this is what I have for lunch. Like, it was just like, I just didn't even, like I said, I didn't even want to know what to do. And then the first thing that went viral for me was 200. I mean, it was like, I got 250,000 views, but it was like over weeks actually. So it wasn't quite as fast as this crazy shit, but it was literally, there's like these little memes. And it does help to follow the memes, but not in the sense of like, I'm going to do the really clever dance. It's more like there'll be like a little clip from a song that's sort of used ironically, and then you just put your thing over it. If I can make it interesting talking about fucking thyroid health, surely you can make it interesting being funny. Like at least you're trying to entertain people. I'm talking about like, so if you're, having trouble losing weight and you have no libido and like your hair's falling out, like follow me.
Well, this is where you find out that I'm a fraud, because actually I've put up a whole.
I feel like imposter syndrome. Really.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, if I can't be funny on TikTok, does that mean I'm not even funny?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
That's how I feel too.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with TikTok though, is like really once you and then once I sort of got more into the thing that's good is in the beginning, nobody's following you. So you can just try everything. And like the first video I put up of me doing like, hi, I'm doing my health coach stuff and dancing. Every time I looked at it, I would crack up because I thought I looked so funny and awkward. And now I look at it, I'm like, that's just me dancing. But I felt so awkward about it that looking at it, I was sure it looked awkward. And other people are like, you're dancing. Like I'm like, but isn't it funny? Like, don't I look weird? No, you're just, but I was just projecting all this, like, oh, I feel so weird about doing this. Now I'm like, okay, whatever. But a lot of it is really like, that's what I was thinking you'd be so good at it, is that kind of thing when you're just like, in the zoo and be like, okay, what the fuck are these baboons doing, folks? Like, I've been watching 10 minutes. Look, this was like, that's it. Like, that is literally, or I would be,
I should have done that. Too bad I was like stoned. I was too bad.
It's like, I'm not even doing entertaining shit. I'm literally talking about science. Like, I am being my absolute nerdy self and being, like, the reason why you shouldn't eat gluten as when you have a thyroid issue is because molecular mimicry and autoimmunity. Like, this is literally what people are watching me for. Like, and it's just because that's, people are like, oh my, I mean, and it's really actually so heartwarming because I cannot tell you how many messages, just comments and messages saying, I've started taking your advice and I feel like myself for the first time in a decade. Like it it like literally chokes me up. This woman I spoke to today, she's like, I've been drinking that smoothie recipe you have. And she's like, for the first time in years, my stomach doesn't hurt. And I was like, holy shit, it works.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you,
I'm not giving people bad advice.
I've stopped growing a beard. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, like, but it's like people literally, you know, I had no idea people were going to go to TikTok to learn about health. But the fact is, I have learned so much about ADHD on TikTok. That's what, I mean, I'm like, oh, who knew? Right. Because I did a little video of ADHD because it ends up people with autoimmune thyroid disorders. People with ADHD are more likely to have autoimmune thyroid disorders. No. Right. And women who have autoimmune, have hypothyroidism are more likely to give birth to children with ADHD.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know. 2 studies came out on this, but that's it. Talk about like nerdy studies. And so it's really not, that's what I thought too. I'm actually more intimidated by Instagram because like, I'm not a visual person. So I'm like, is this a cute thing? Is this a clever quote? I don't know. You know, I now have an assistant. I'm like, you do Instagram. Right. You take whatever you want and put it, I don't care. Just repurpose shit and just put it on Instagram. I don't want to deal with Instagram.
I guess I wanted to ask, I don't want to interrupt. Finish your thought.
That was about the end of my thought.
I guess, do you have any thoughts on like any of the negative effects social media might have on people? I guess that, cause you know, when I hear you talk about it, I'm like, oh, wow. You know, it's sort of like giving me another perspective because for me, I feel like I'm concerned about being beholden to my phone and like concerned about like checking it to see if people like it and then attaching my own self-worth to that. Like what we said, imposter syndrome. Like if people don't think I'm funny on TikTok, does that mean I'm not funny anymore? When in fact, when I'm in a room of people and I'm doing stand-up comedy, I know I'm funny, like from the reaction. So I guess it's like, that's been a lot of the reason why I'm hesitant to want to prescribe to yet another social media thing that I feel like, you know, historically speaking, has, you know, being a 33-year-old woman, I'm like, I don't want my self-worth attached to strangers on the internet and like the whims of what they may or may not feel or say to me that day, you know?
Yeah, I would say the thing that's nice about TikTok, I mean, and at least it is for now, is there really is this vibe of like, if you're going to be mean, go back to Facebook. Like that's what people say all the time. They're like, that's not what, you know, that's like, there's even like this little meme, like what people do is they'll be like a little, somebody speaking some quote, and then people will take that sound and do it as well. Like just repeat the meme over and over of you just lip syncing to somebody else's quote. And one is like, I've never come on TikTok and left a mean comment. If you're going to do that, go back to Facebook. Like, and it's literally gone all over TikTok. Like people are just like, that's not okay. There are still mean people, but it's not nearly as nasty as like Twitter or Facebook, you know, or those kinds of things. Like the cancel culture on Twitter just does not seem to, I'm sure there's some of it, but it's not the horrors of like, let's just, rip somebody's entire life to shreds in 140 characters. Now
it's 280. So
I know 280. Right. I realized I totally just dated myself there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Like I'm like a week
okay, ago. Gen X,
Right. Exactly. Right. That's also a really funny thing. It's like all the Gen X people, there's a whole Gen X thing on TikTok. That's really funny. Like, all the Gen Xers taking over TikTok, which we're like 20%, but it is really, we're like, it's our thing.
Yeah. You guys got to have something.
We're like 10% actually, like Gen X and baby boomers are like 20% together or something. But, yes, I've looked into the statistics.
You're like, I am a true nerd.
I'm true. These are all nerd books behind me. I was even pointing out, like, there's the geeky. Yes, that is the Death Star. My brother bought me a birthday.
Obviously it is.
Obviously. So, but the thing is, it is about, in the beginning, part of it is literally just the whims, not the whims, but you kind of have to catch on with the algorithm. And it's not like you have to please somebody. It's just figuring out like which hashtag works. Like some of it is just, even I were talking about like kind of how do you do hashtag research? I learned that from just from people, experts on TikTok. But at first, like I just was experimenting with, like, it was actually like, okay, I have, 100 followers. I don't need like 200 followers. Like it was just really small. And also it was because I was following other people. So I would just go and comment like, oh, that's a funny one. Like a bunch of moms. I would mainly go also to a lot of moms because it was a whole like sort of mom supporting moms culture, which is just nice and I meet people. But also the thing I work on mostly affects women, 20s, 34, like, so those are also going to be the people that might be interested anyway. So it's not like I was going to like totally fill up their feed with stupid shit if they liked me, stuff that wasn't relevant. But it's really not, I mean, it's just like the same way you put your self-worth out there when you're like, I'm going to go do a show and people are going to have to buy tickets. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's no more, like, I don't find this social media as any more than that, right? Like, well, I'm going to put myself as a health coach and hope people like buy my services. It's not, I don't think TikTok is going to be any more. I mean, to me, the idea of getting up on stage and doing stand-up is fucking like, there's no way I would do that. No way would I perform like that. That seems so much harder than 60 seconds in front of my own camera in my own office. I can always delete it if I don't like it, right? No, instead of people like there's live people in the audience who are going to be like, oh, was that supposed to be funny? Am I supposed to laugh? Like that would I would just be like, excuse me while I go stick my head in the toilet right now. Like, that was horrible.
Yeah, that's true. We are heroes, I think is the point of that.
Right.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. So then I want to ask you then, and you can just come up with like one or two things or whatever. Because how now we feel, right? I think like the whole point is that we feel like we haven't achieved that much in our lives. And we don't know how you have the self-esteem to do TikTok when we feel scared.
It hurts me. Yeah.
Yeah. But so, okay. So
I do have 15 and 17 years on you. So let's just, there's that.
That's true. I mean.
She doesn't give a fuck anymore. We heard her.
18,
yeah, that's true.
On you. I have 19 years on you.
All right. Because how old are you, Catherine? 33?
Yeah. I'll be 52 in June. Another Gemini.
Oh, I didn't know you were Gemini. Oh my God.
Oh, that's why I feel like I'm in the room with 45 people. Okay.
All four of us and you.
Yeah.
But so what do you get jealous of things? Like, what do you get jealous of in other people? Like, do you get jealous of, it's not like, what do you get jealous of? What drives you crazy?
What drives me crazy? I have to say that is part of what, like, I kind of, I was like, I just don't give a fuck in some ways. Like,
so you don't get jealous.
It's more like the things but jealous. There's things I want, but there's a lot less of that. Well, just also because, I mean, how much are you going to compare yourself? Like there are women, I mean, I guess what I mean by get over myself is things like, I'm never going to be taller. I'm never going to have great boobs. Like I'm never going to have straight teeth. I'm never going to have a good voice. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just things I was like, it's just never going to happen. I could be fucking miserable because of it. Or I could be like, 5'3" isn't so bad.
Catherine, the point is we're going to have to quit the podcast by the time we get to Danny's age because what are we going to,
have anything to be miserable about.
If we're like, no, we just accept ourselves. Well, there it goes,
No, but then you start mocking you're like, I accept myself, but everybody else sucks.
Right. Well, I feel that way too.
There is that. There's a lot of
fair
that.
point.
No, but,
yeah.
But I think part of it is like really just, jealous of, I mean, there are people, it's more like there's people like, I want to be that person. Do you know what I mean? I think that's more, I used to be jealous of that person. And now I'm like, how do I get there? I want to get there. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but that's where I'm going. Like, that's my path. You know what I mean? Whereas before it might've been more of like, oh, they're there and I'm not. Now I'm like, oh, so how do I get there?
Yeah.
What's the secret code? I want to try that.
That sounds very down to earth. I hate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I forgot to tell you about this part. Now, you have to give me and Catherine a compliment. So I mean, it's or something you're jealous of in us, but it doesn't have to be jealous. Just something that you like
right.
about
You didn't
us.
prepare me for this one.
I forgot this part. Yeah. But you're obviously so shy that it might be hard for you to do this. But
I'm totally shy. Well, I already told you one. Like the idea that you guys, first of all, the idea that you guys are just like funny, like just all the time funny is just really cool to me. Like
we can go down this.
Funny is like a superpower. I just think that's awesome.
I was going to say, we can go, I'm happy to keep going down this path, but also just so you know, you have to give it to us individually as well. So,
yeah. Okay.
So yeah, but keep going with the funny. What was that about us being funny? What did you say?
I need more of that.
Right. No. Okay. I'm going to start with Catherine here. First of all, well, just in terms of like jealous, I'm jealous that you live in London because I'm so fucking tired of this country, but that's not you personally. No, I just love that you have this like snarky sense of humor that I just which I really love. And I do want to hear more of this podcast. And I also love that you have the patience to put up with Eve's shit so much. That's really
oh, this is my favorite compliment I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, that's all the time we have. Gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
She said it.
No, it's so funny. Like, yeah, that you're like saying like that you're nervous about getting on TikTok, and yet you get up in front of a stage and you know you're funny. Like, that's so cool. I was like, I just would have, I would never do that. Like, I would just never do that. Like, that's, yeah. No, I think that's really awesome. Especially with women, because women get so much shit doing that. Like, so, yeah. and especially, honestly, in my early 30s, like, you're also talking to me, I'm almost 20 years older than you. There is no way I had a fraction of that confidence at 33. Like, there's no way. There's no way I'd be. The whole free range mom thing, by the way, it happened when I was 45. It's like a very different stage of life.
You're really inspiring me to have every one of Eve's family members on this podcast. I want to hear more about that. But,
right, there you go. Yeah, so that's right. So now, all right. So that was great. It was really nice meeting you. And
is there someone else in the room?
Hey, is that Eve? It's Eve. A little of that tea could really help with that throat thing you got going on.
Oh yeah, is that your fucking prescription? Is that your medical opinion?
That's right. That's right. Eve, once you decide that, like, once you realize that TikTok is not a big deal, you're going to fucking kill it on TikTok. I'm telling the way that you're spontaneously, like I said, that funny, that like, I mean, you'll be able to like pull out your phone walking down the street and be like, okay, guys, I just saw the fucking funniest thing in the store. And it'll be like that. And that shit will go viral because it's really fucking funny. And that's what it really is, that spontaneous. Also, I should tell you the first joke that Eve ever told me, well, I'd say, no, I'm sorry. The first roast that Eve ever gave me.
Right.
I'm talking about. Okay. So I went to, she would spend all this time with me these weekends when I was living in Manhattan. And then I was going to graduate school in Rhode Island. It's only 3 hours away, but
so I was like, what, 10 years old? 8 years old?
No, I think it was, so it probably would have been like, you have been like, 10, maybe 10 or 11.
I was very funny. I was always very funny.
Maybe 12. And like my parents were going, I think we were in the car or something. And I was, it must have been a little bit later because I was towards the end of graduate. No, that's right. So about 12, middle graduate school. And you're like, oh, you're going to be done soon. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then you move back to New York. Right. And I was like, no, I'm like, she's like, you're going to move back to New York so we can see each other. Right. And she's like, all sad. And I'm like, well, I really have to move somewhere. I'm going to finish this degree and I really need to move somewhere and work in a job. And she's like, but you can flip burgers anywhere. Thanks, kid.
Yeah,
got him.
I mean, yeah, zing.
Like perfect, but a perfectly straight face. I was like, a little bit. Like, what?
Yeah. That's fucking funny, man. Like
parents were like, what? So yeah, she was like 12. So if you could be like a sarcastic pain in the ass, then I mean, come on, you'd be really funny.
Come on, I need a fucking compliment, man. This is all lame. You're going to go viral on TikTok. You roasted me when you were 12. Come on.
Right.
My hair.
And I do love your hair. No, also what I really love is I do love that just because when I was talking about, especially with like the whole sort of like weird, like trying to figure out like different aspects of like being smart and sexuality and so on. I love that you have the confidence to get on stage and just like talk and laugh about sex so openly. I think not only is it really funny and take a lot of confidence, but I think it's a real gift that you give to other people to laugh and to feel like, to laugh at the stupid, awkward things that happen during sex and like to be like, this is supposed to be fun. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's awkward. Sometimes it's stupid. And sometimes it's just fucking funny. Sometimes it's awesome.
Sometimes it's rape. Sometimes it's rape.
And sometimes it's rape. It's important for us to put it all out there. But seriously, it's a gift. It's a gift that you are so open, that you can let people be so open and laugh about something that is so shamed in our society. So I think that is really powerful.
Everything inside of me wants to make a joke that undercuts that, but I'm gonna be like, I'm a prophet. But no, you know what?
Leave it.
I'm gonna sit with that. It's gonna feed me.
She's good, Eve. I hate her. She's, really inspiring. Really, and I learned a lot about all the things I'm definitely not going to do, but I'm happy to know somebody
not going to let the children get picked up by the police.
Oh, well, she's not going to have kids. You're not going to have kids, right? You said
no. I'm not. I'm no.
Well,
kids
then that's a good way to not get them picked up by the police. See, you've already ahead of the game right there.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, check. Okay, did it too. Thank you.
By the way, for the record, so many of my friends have asked me, what is that supplement? What was that tea that you're drinking now? Because everybody has wolf hairs. So, so Danny,
I have an Amazon wish list.
I'm going to patent it. Like Danielle's patented wolf hair formula. You're going to snake oil. This is wolf hair.
Put that on TikTok. Tell me how it goes. And if wolf hair goes viral, then I'm looking for my cut.
Like talk to Catherine.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, Danny, do you want to promote any of your, like, you want to plug your Instagram, your TikTok, any kind of upcoming courses, anything like that?
Yeah, I guess I'm supposed to do shit like that, right? Yeah, no, I work on all kinds of chronic illness, all the shit that doctors shame us for, the stuff that they say, here's a pill. And if they can't give you a pill, they tell you you're imagining it. First started out doing thyroid stuff. I'm actually expanding more into women's hormonal health, into things like PCOS, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, all kinds of autoimmune diseases, all those things that the medical field just completely fails us on, and really is, in the end, really kind of simple to handle, because it's about, how we treat ourselves, diet and lifestyle. And so I handle all that. I do TikTok lives like 2 or 3 times a week, because I find it entertaining to answer questions for 3 hours.
Nerd.
So, yeah, exactly. So it's at thyroid.coach.danielle on both Instagram and TikTok. And I do one-on-one health coaching. I'm probably going to do a workshop at some point in the next, I'm going to like advertise the next month or so. And but I have like I also have a Facebook page. Like the best place is like on either Instagram or TikTok. If you go to my bio and click all the other like links. The link to the Facebook and all that crap. And my website is thyroidhealingsolutions.com. But that's probably like I do the least there. Like everything's on TikTok. And
but that's a good way for people to find you and your links and all that stuff like that.
Thyroidhealingsolutions.com or Thyroid Coach Danielle on TikTok and Instagram. If you search it on Facebook, you'll find my group there too.
Well, thanks for being on our podcast. Thanks for doing this, Danny.
No, it's fun.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. I mean,
it's been like true confessions. I'm like, okay, I've literally talked to you about things I've only told my therapist, and now every single person who listens to this podcast.
Well, all right.
I'm gonna be like, okay, sorry, Lauren, I don't need this next week, because I spilled it all on the podcast. I'm good.
Who knows? You could start your own podcast, and suddenly now you're gonna do better than us at the thing that we do. So
that's true.
Yeah, it's good. I see it. I see the future.
Right. I'll just call it I'm doing better than them.
All right.
That's my goal.
And we should plug our podcast real quick.
And if you like this podcast, which I hope you do, because you just fucking listen to it, you can follow us on Instagram at Everyone's Doing Better, and follow us on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok, and also at Everyone's Doing Better.
I'm going to post something soon.
I'm going to post something. Catherine's going to do it too. I can feel it. She's into it. Now that Danny's talked some sense into her, she's ready for it. So Everyone's Doing Better on both TikTok and Instagram. Like and subscribe. Oh, and the last thing that Catherine and I have been complaining, because we're like, nobody's liking and subscribing. I found out that we actually have 13 or 16 ratings on our, sorry to brag, on our podcast. It's just that because they're from other countries, it doesn't show up on my app. But when I looked it up on the iTunes website, I can see that we have comments, we have likes, and I could also see
coming.
On Spotify, we have 50 subscribers just on Spotify alone. I didn't tell Catherine that. Over 50. So anyway, but it's not enough. It's never enough. So enough. Please continue to fill the void in our hearts by liking, subscribing, sending us money, or dick pics. Thank you for listening.
Only good ones. Only good ones. Only if they're impressive.
Shaved. Thank you.